What's up, SRL League fans, and welcome to round 2 of the International GT3 Championship. We are in Season 4 and today we're going to race at the Donington Park circuit, a beautiful racetrack in Britain, one of the classic racetracks in the UK. I can't wait for some sports car racing on this beautiful venue. Give me a few short minutes and I'll be back with you. Just quickly gotta make some settings work on the stream. So I am back with you guys, and this is our grid for today. 7 drivers on the grid, and I'm your commentator for the day. I'm Sandro Doulis. You know me from the F1 League probably, and from the F1 series, and I obviously also participated in the last few seasons of GT3 racing, the International GT3 Championship. For this season, I'm on the sidelines, watching this race with you from the outside as a commentator. Obviously would like to be on the racetrack, but being in the commentator's booth is probably the second nicest thing to do, so yeah. We're back after round 1 at Daytona 4 weeks ago, the 2.4 hours at Daytona. Logan Orand with a dominating performance took that win, and we'll see if he can make it 2 in a row today here at Donington. Obviously, as always with a race in the UK, the weather will be interesting to see. It will be really interesting to see if we get some wet weather racing, which is quite typical for this championship. If you remember last season, for example, when we had so many wet races. Right now, though, it looks sunny as we're looking at the Dutchman Cas Nuchians leaving the pits as one of the first drivers. And out he goes. He joined mid-season in Season 3, so last season. Had a really good run at Portimao where he led most of the second half of the race, but then unfortunately disconnected with only 10 minutes to go. So absolute heartbreak for him. But he got his race win 2 weeks later at Zolder in the season finale. So Cas Nuchian's definitely a name to look out for. And this is Logan Orand. What a performance 4 weeks ago at Daytona. Championship leader, of course, after only 1 round, but still. He is the man to beat, and will be interesting to see who can take the challenge. Maybe it's Dion Stahl, his first race of the season. He unfortunately missed round 1 at Daytona. Dion Stahl, always a force to reckon with in these GT3 cars and on project cars too in general. He's a 3-time, yes, I'm repeating myself, 3-time Indy 500 race winner in the SRL. So Dion Stahl is definitely someone to look out for, as he's currently on his outlap in this 15-minute qualifying session. So drivers got 15 minutes to set a good lap around this circuit and get a good starting position, which doesn't mean too much as Dion Stahl goes off the racetrack, which doesn't mean too much as this is endurance racing and we all know how much can happen in these races. Hits the ball out going for the chicane, so these are gone already. Gonna pick up Nick van Gelder in the Audi, who infamously ran out of fuel during the Daytona 2.4 hours. Let's hope his fuel management will be a little bit better today, as Cas Nuchians is the first driver on his flying lap. Hard braking for this left-hand corner. Look quite tidy so far, up the hill, really difficult corner, it's off camber. Into the hairpin. We are running the Grand Prix layout, so not the national circuit. That's why we have the tight hairpin as a corner. And into the final corner. Look tidy from what I've seen. Maybe a little bit off the apex through the final corner. Let's see what the first lap of Cas Nuchians is going to be. Nothing. So he probably invalidated his lap time. Let's see if Logan Oren can set the first lap of the race weekend. He can't, so another... Oh, he did. My bad, excuse me, I didn't see that. It's a 28.6 for Logan Oren, and Jeremy Pope just joined the session in the Cadillac. The American being a little bit late, but he's there on the racetrack, which is good to see. And a Cadillac, this is the debut for this car in this championship, so that's going to be interesting to see what this American beast can do with the American driver behind the wheel. Dion Stahl coming over the line. Another invalid lap time for him as well. So a few invalid lap times so far. Up the hill through the S's. Goes very, very deep into the grass. And that's another lap for the bin for the Dutchman. Let's see how the other Dutchman is faring. Cas Nuchians. Talking about Dutchmen, Nick van Gelder goes second fastest, about 1.8 seconds behind Logan Oren. Cas Nuchians over the line, a 1 minute 29.0. That puts him second on the grid, 4/10 behind Logan Oren. Senna Herweier in the Audi. He had this massive flip in turn 1 at Daytona, which he somehow recovered from. Great repair job by his Audi team. He finished multiple laps down, but he finished, and that is something that in endurance racing can mean a lot. Tim Vente goes over the line for 1 minute 30.7 in the Ferrari. Tim Venting coming off 2 wins in the SRL League F1 Championship, so he definitely had a confidence booster throughout the last few weeks. Let's see if that translates into this championship. And Max Mulder, the reigning champion, goes top of the timesheets. as we've lost someone. Oh, we've lost Logan Orant. Logan Orant has disconnected off the session, as that is Sandro Doulis going for a spin. Logan Orant, who's second on the grid until Max just beat his lap time. Nurians goes provisional pole as Jeremy Pope exits the pits for the first time. So Logan Orant has just disconnected off the session. Let's see if he can make it back in time for the race start. But this could be huge drama, because remember, he is leading this championship after round 1 at Daytona. Max Mulder, a little bit sideways coming for the chicane. We got 7 minutes to go in the session, so about halfway through. And let's go for an onboard lap with your Season 3 International GT3 SRL League champion. It's quite a short run into turn 1. Use a little bit of the room given on the outside. A little bit off the apex here from Max Mulder. Use a lot of the apex curb, and then you get onto this straight part, which is flat out. These corners, not a real challenge for the drivers, but this uphill section is. You gotta be tight there on the inside curb. Beautifully taken there by Max Mulder. Through this kink, easy flat, then up the hill. Braking while turning. The car's never like that, as you can see. Max Mulder losing it, and into the gravel he goes. I was just saying, the cars don't like turning and braking at the same time, and Max Mulder just lost it coming into this uphill right-hander. Still gonna go on board with him. The outside tires screaming at this point, as they are really high on temperature. Then onto the longest straight of this racetrack, going into the chicane, hard braking, hit the inside apex, outside apex, onto another straight. Now downhill braking, really challenging into this hairpin. It's really easy to outbrake yourself, as Max Mulder does here by a little bit. Get the car turning, straight onto another short straight before entering this tight left-hander for the final corner. And then onto the south finish straight. Good apex by Max Mulder, but obviously this time doesn't mean anything, as he got into the gravel through the uphill right section. Nick van Gelder currently in the pits. He's sitting third on the grid so far. 1.3 seconds behind Nurians, who's on provisional pole. Tim Ventig, he's fourth at the moment. As we can see, Sandro Doulis going for a spin through the chicane. And he's back on the racetrack. This is Tim Venting's first time in the Ferrari, in the GT3 International GT3 Championship. This season at least. He missed round 1 at Daytona, but he's here at Donington, as he gotta be careful there with Nick van Gelder exiting the pits. Good on Nick, he saw that, but that still compromised the run into turn 1 for Tim Ventig, as you can see him going off the track, because you use the pit lane exit for braking. So use all the space given, and the space given is part of the pit lane exit, and Nick van Gelder just exited the pits, so that definitely compromised Tim Ventig there by a little bit. We still haven't seen Logan Orant join back into the session, which is kind of concerning. There he is. I just said it, and he's back into the session. Obviously lost his time, so he got about 4 minutes left in the session to set a lap time and to get a good grid slot. Max Mulder, about 4 tenths off pole, off Nurians. But it is a Audi 123 at the moment, and it's a Dutch 123 as well, with Nurians, Mulder and Van Gelder. Nurians starting another flying lap. Braking for turn 1. Looked clean. On board with Nurians. Through the uphill section. So much fun. So fast flowing, beautiful section. My favorite on this racetrack. Now let's see how he takes the uphill right. Looks a lot cleaner than Max Mulder early on. The next off-camber right-hand corner. Really easy to miss it, especially if your car has some understeer. Looks decent enough from Nurians though. Into the chicane, really hard braking. Use all the space given. So close to being invalid. Exit curb taken. And downhill into the hairpin. He brakes early. Somewhat hits the apex. So difficult into the hairpin. One of the most difficult hairpins I know in European motorsports. And then this tight left-hander for the final corner. Looks really understeery there for Nurians and a bit of oversteer on the exit. Let's see if he can improve on his lap. Doesn't look like it. He stays on his 127.7. Max Mulder now coming into the hairpin. What can he do? His backhand steps out a little bit on the exit of the hairpin. He's coming into the final corner now. Out of the final corner he comes. Can improve on his time. That is Van Gelder who's coming through the uphill section. But I'm interested to see what Logan Allred can do. Through the chicane he comes. He needs a lap time. His first lap time obviously got lost due to his disconnect. He got traffic ahead. Let's hope everybody is aware of the Ferrari coming through. His fellow American Jeremy Pope is. Pope currently in P5 with a 1:30.3. Allred goes third. 6/10 off Nurians. Talk about Nurians. Nurians into the pits, so his session is done. Mulder. What can he do? Can he challenge Nurians for pole position? Through the hairpin. Looks clean by the Dutchman. Gets the car turning through the final corner. And onto the start finish line. Can he beat the 27.7 by Nurians? No, he can't. Just 1/10 off, but he got one more lap to complete. We got 17 seconds left on the clock. Oh, a little bit off there from Logan Allred. He goes into the gravel and that's his flying lap done. So it won't be any better than third place for Allred. Lee van Gelder is in the pits as well. So the only heavy hitter left on the racetrack on a flying lap is Max Mulder. The pressure is on for the young Dutchman, who claimed his maiden SRL League F1 win a few weeks ago. Good job through the chicane there by Mulder. Now can he improve through the hairpin? That's the main spot he struggled so far. And then look clean, use all of the exit curve as well. So it was early on the power. One more corner to go for Max Mulder. Can he beat the 27.7 by Nurians? Out of the final corner he comes. Onto the start finish straight. And I don't think he improved. He didn't. So it's Kasnuchians on pole position ahead of Max Molder. So there is a Dutch Audi front row with Logan Orange in third. Then it's Nick van Gelder, who has a grid penalty, so he'll drop to fifth. Tim Ventic will start in rows 2 for P4. Then it's good qualifying session there by Jeremy Pope in the Cadillac debut in P6. Then it's Senna Hervey in 7th, and Dion Stahl struggling in this qualifying session only in P8. So we'll have to wait for the drivers now to make their setup and their strategy changes. And we're waiting the race start for 1 hour and 30 minutes of racing. Will be really interesting to see what Logan Oran can do from third place. He was so dominant at Daytona, and I think race pace is what Logan Oran really excels at. So will be interesting to see what Oran can do from third. Ferrari has been struggling, at least from Dion Stahl. It's his first race for Ferrari in the GT3 Championship. Obviously a seasoned veteran for Ferrari in the F1 Championship, as he is currently in his 8th season for Ferrari, for the Scuderia. Gotta be disappointing for Dion Stahl. I talked to him before the race, and it seems like he's lacking a little bit of practice in this car and on this racetrack as well. So fingers crossed for Dion Stahl that his pace is gonna improve through the race as he continues to get some more experience in this race car. So we're waiting for the drivers to make their final strategy changes. And there we go. On to the start finish straight. 1.5 hours of racing at Donington, and we are go, go, go. And it's a good jump by Max Mulder, who is side by side with Kasnuchians. He got the inside preferred line going into turn 1. And Mulder takes the lead. Nuchians tries to hold on the outside, gets a little bit off the grass. Someone is off in the background. That is Logan Orand. Championship leader Logan Orand is off into the gravel. Tim Venting is challenging Kasnuchians side by side into the upper section, and the Ferrari is through into second. Nuchians drops to third, tries to get the switchback move. He does. Great job by the Dutchman. And Nuchians is back into second. Good start by Jeremy Pope, who's up there in 4th place, followed by Nick van Gelder. A little bit of contact there from Nick van Gelder, and Jeremy Pope goes around. So both Americans meet the gravel on lap 1. And he drops all the way down to 8th. There was some contact with Nick van Gelder. First a little bump, and then I think they touched going side by side. And this has stretched the field out a little bit. The bollard goes flying already. Nuchians is already being gapped by Max Mulder. The gap is already up to almost 2 seconds. Tim Ventic seems to have some good pace here on lap 1. He has a look down the inside on the exit of the hairpin of Nuchians. Not quite enough, as Nuchians got the better drive coming out of the corner. A little bit wide there by Ventic. And what a chaotic lap. Another super chaotic lap is completed in this championship. Lap 1s have been something so far this season. And we got Max Mulder leading in front of Kasnuchians, followed by Tim Ventic. Logan Orand has lost 13 seconds on the leader through his spin. Unfortunately, I kind of missed what happened there, but he just went off into turn 1 into the gravel. I think there might have been some contact. Nick van Gelder really close to the rear of Tim Ventic. Cuts a little bit off that inside curve there. And Tim Ventic let's sneak van Gelder through. Interesting. Is there an issue from Tim Venting, or did he just say, hey, this is a long race, you're quicker, let's not hold each other up? And this might have been it, I think. It is interesting to see. This is the progress, the maturity progress Tim Venting has made in the last 2 seasons, last 2 years. He's matured a lot and he's becoming a really intelligent racer. As, yeah, this letting Nick van Gelder through is showing. Nurians goes for a spin in the final corner. And he takes the advertising board with him. Now it's stuck underneath the Audi. This might be an aerodynamic disadvantage, as now he loses the advertisement board and is now in the middle of the front straight. So passes into turn 1 will be a little bit more difficult now with that advertisement board in the middle of the racetrack. I was just gonna say that Cas Nurian seems to be stabilizing a little bit after a difficult lap 1, but then he went for a spin. Maybe got a little bit of that inside curb through the final corner. And he's dropped down to P4 behind Tim Venting. So everybody has built a little bit of a gap. Closest battle on track is the battle for P2, with Nick van Gelder currently running second, followed by Tim Venting and Nurians. Dion Stahl has had a quiet start, but he is up into P5 from last place. And Max Mulder out front, leading by about 4 seconds over his teammate Nick van Gelder. Ooh, a little bit of a moment there by Mulder. He got loose under braking. Cost him about a second. So got our Season 3 champion running in first. And our Season 1 champion running in second. Season 2 champion Jensen Randall unfortunately not here today, as he is reduced his racing time in SRL for this season. Obviously only part-time in the F1 series and also part-time in the GT3 series. And Logan Orand is slowly creeping in again. He was 13 seconds down on Max Mulder, the race leader. He's now 9 seconds down as he is approaching his fellow Ferrari of Dion Stahl. Nurians now attacking Tim Venting. Nurians seems to be the quicker driver. This would be interesting to see if Venting also is gonna leave Cas Nurians through, if Nurians is a lot quicker. As, never mind, Tim Venting goes really deep into the final corner. They're going to be side by side on the front straight now. Venting got the inside line. You gotta be careful with that advertisement board. It's gone apparently. Good job by the marshals. And Tim Venting keeps third place for now. Oh, side by side through there. You can't pass there. Nurians thinks better of it. It's not the easiest racetrack to pass on, this Donington Park circuit. Donington Park, a real classic. And I'm glad it's on the calendar as we see the two Ferraris going side by side. Logan Orand making the pass on Dion Stahl. Really happy to have Donington on the calendar. One of the classic British racetracks. Oh, I think Logan Orange just lost it coming out of the chicane. Had a little bit of a moment. He caught it though. And the gap between the leader, Mulder, and Van Gelder has come down to under a second. That is really interesting to see. So right now Van Gelder is the quickest car on the racetrack. And he's closing in on Max Mulder. It's a bit of a wonder that Max Mulder is currently leading this race, because little background story. About 10 minutes before the qualifying started, his TV actually blew up. It just blew up, and yeah, it didn't work anymore, and he had to go quickly grab a TV out of a different room and connect it to his PlayStation so he was able to participate in this race. But yeah, bizarre scenes before this race. A lot of chaos going on for Max Mulder. So yeah, props to him for being so composed and leading this race, because those were some stressful 10 minutes before this race started with his screen blowing up. Yeah, bizarre scenes there. Hopefully he's getting a refund on this screen, because that should not happen. Van has lost a bit of time again on this lap. Gap between Ventic and Nuchians has grown a bit again. It's now up to about a second. So Ventic's pace seems to be quite decent. Gap between Mulder and Van Gelder keeps going under a second for like a few corners, and then over a second again. Obviously not that big of a deal in the GT3 Championship. We obviously don't have DRS here, as this is an F1 thing. This is Logan Orand, who has a lot of clean air ahead, about 6 seconds worth of clean air until he catches up to Chaos Nuchians, who's running in 4th place. Dion Stahl is now getting company from the Cadillac of Jeremy Pope. I'm really interested to see what this Cadillac is able to do, because we've never seen a Cadillac race in the SRL League International GT3 Championship. This is a debut for this car. And so far, obviously, Jeremy Pope being a little bit unlucky on lap 1 with his spin. So far, the performance seems to be there, as he has now a look down the inside of Stahl, going into the off-camber left-hand corner. Oh, really tight, but they keep on the racetrack again. A little bit of bumping there. Some good sports car racing, side by side, going to the chicane. I think I can see drops of rain on the camera lens. Dion Stahl got the preferred line, the inside line, and he stays ahead of Jeremy Pope. Gap between the leaders stays just below under a second, but there are drops of rain as Pope has a look down the inside. Dion Stahl saw it, did not close the door, and this gave Jeremy Pope a little bit of a better line, but he now got the outside for the final corner. Can he make a switchback work? No, we can't. Stahl stays in front. Now we got the inside line going to turn 1. Dion Stahl, there's some contact made. Stahl has to yield, and Stahl drops down to P7. Jeremy Pope up to 6th. I think there was a small mistake by Max Mulder. He just ran a little bit wide. And it's starting to get a little bit treacherous out there. The rain is definitely there already. We're only about not even 15 minutes into this race, and the rain has already started. We unfortunately missed Tim Ventic dropping down to 4th place. Cas Nuchian's now running in a podium position. And it's close between the leaders. Van Gelder showing his nose, showing that he's quicker than his teammate. These two will battle, I'm sure. These two are friends and teammates, but both are so unbelievably competitive. I don't expect these two to let each other pass, even though they are teammates. And the battle is on. I talked about it earlier. It's obviously a race in the UK, and we all know UK weather, and it's the SRL League International GT3 Championship. The amount of wet weather races we had so far is unbelievable, especially last season. So this is not surprising me at all that we got rain in the area, and these drivers are still on slicks. So yeah, it will be interesting to see when the crossover point will come and what this is gonna do to the strategy. Usually this is an easy one-stop, but the rain has already started with, yeah, not even 50 minutes gone in this race. So could this push the drivers to a possible two-stop strategy? I don't know if the fuel is gonna last, if they pit now, and it looks like a lot of rain, like very hard rain. So this track will be wet quite soon, I imagine at least. Windscreen wipers are on both Audis. Let's have a look inside the cockpit of Max Mulder. There's definitely rain on his windscreen. Through turn 1. Still looks like there's a lot of grip on the racetrack. It takes some time on Project Cars 2 until the racetrack gets wet enough for wet tires. This is always really interesting to see when it's finally time to switch over. Nuchians has dropped a little bit. He's now running around 5 seconds behind the battle for the lead. And Logan Orant, the gap has stayed around the same. He's now running 14 seconds behind leader Max Mulder. So could we possibly see a race where Logan Orant isn't the fastest car on the racetrack? Which, I mean, it was the case last season for a few rounds, but the way he dominated Daytona, this is surprising me at least a little bit. Dion Stahl and Jeremy Pope still going at it for 6th place. Took Dion Stahl a few laps to recover from losing that position and the contact he had with Jeremy Pope, but he's there again. Both of them on slick tires, of course, as the rain is coming down super hard. You can see it on your screen. There's a lot of rain coming down. And the gap between the leaders is down to 4 tenths, 3 tenths now. Max Mulder has his rear view mirror full of Nick van Gelder, and I just heard Max Mulder locking up, and there he is. Poor exit coming out of turn 1. Van Gelder is right there. You can't make a pass through here. And Orant and Nuchians are already in the pits. They're switching over to wets. Is it time for wets already? We're 15 minutes into this race. It still looks like a lot of grip to me, at least. But it's difficult to tell from up here, of course. At some point, Senna Hervaya has pitted as well. We have missed that. Hervaya running in 8th and last place at the moment. Oh, and Max Mulder misses the chicane. That's going to be a slowdown penalty. Van Gelder looks to the outside. Through the rain. On these dry tires. A better exit there from Van Gelder, as it looks like. Are they going to pit this lap? Or Nuchians pitted last lap. Max Mulder got the inside. Van Gelder on the outside. They both pit. Both decide it's time for wet tires. Pit lane speed on. No speeding in the pit lane. Which Audi crew is the quicker one? Tim Ventic also pits. Is anybody gonna stay out? I think Tim Ventic has missed his pit box. Oh, what drama for the Dutchman. He has missed his pit box. That's Senna Hervaya coming through. He might be a lap down as he's struggling. I think he's still on slicks. Max Mulder goes out, and Nick van Gelder goes out as well. I think Nick van Gelder lost a little bit of time through there. Dion Stahl and Jeremy Pope are also carrying on. Has Carsten Nuchians possibly undercut the two leaders? I don't think he has, no. It was the right decision to stay out a little bit longer there by Max Mulder and by Nick van Gelder. Tim Ventig, he ran through the pits, and I think was trying to get between Mulder and Van Gelder, but he just missed the pit box and had to carry on. This is infamously exactly what happened, well, not exactly, but kind of what happened to Ayrton Senna at Donington in 1993, when he had to go through the pit lane because he thought there was a pit stop. There wasn't, the crew wasn't ready, but obviously it didn't matter at the end because Senna was leading by such a huge gap. One of the best performances in F1 history, in my opinion, that European Grand Prix 1993, when Senna took the lead from, I think it was 5th or 6th place on the first lap. Fantastic racing in similar conditions as well. And Nick van Gelder has just passed Max Mulder. We unfortunately missed that. I apologize for that. There must have been a mistake from Mulder because he had a gap on Nick van Gelder after the pit stop as he goes through the grass. Max Mulder is struggling a little bit. Stahl takes the lead now as Tim Ventig makes his way into the pits. We've lost someone. I think we've lost Jeremy Pope, unfortunately. Jeremy Pope has retired of the session. I'm not sure if that is a disconnect. I think it might be. Dion Stahl now having some company there from the lap car of Senna Herweijer. Ventig keeps dropping down the order. This is obviously, well, his second time in the pits. His first pit stop, but second time in the pits. The visibility is terrible, especially coming into this uphill section here. Let's see what lap time Dion Stahl is going to set. Last time round he was about 2 seconds slower than the wet tire runners. At least Carsten. Oh, he steps up the back end. Through the grass he goes. It's definitely time for wet tires. Both these cars are still on slicks. Dion Stahl and Herweijer, and both missed the chicane. This might be a strategical mistake here by Dion Stahl. Staying out on the dry tires too long. Oh, look how careful he's being into the final corner. And he's coming into the pits now. Herweijer, for some reason, staying out. But Dion Stahl goes into the pits and he's going to drop way down. He lost so much time on this lap. Van Gelder and Mulder already making their way through the final corner. Logan Oran has lost a lot of time through this pit stop period, the crossover period. He's currently running behind Tim Ventig, and Tim Ventig had to go into the pits twice in consecutive laps. Stahl exits the pits and he's going to drop down to 6th place. So the last car on the lead lap. 7:10 separating Max Mulder and Nick van Gelder, the battle for the lead. The two teammates, 2 GT3 SRL League champions, and 2 Dutchmen. And of racetrack fans, real life fans, so interesting battle to say the least. And Carsten Nuchians is closing down on the 2 leaders. He was the quickest car on the racetrack on the last lap, and he showed last season how quick he can be in the wet. Carsten Nuchians, right now to me at least, is the favorite for this race win, as Max Mulder misses the chicane a little bit. That might be a slowdown penalty. Sandro Doulis is off into the gravel. That's not surprising considering he's still on slicks. Look at how terrible the visibility is. You can barely see the cars through the rain, through the fog. This is typical UK weather. Gonna hop on board with Max Mulder. Nuchians another second quicker on this lap than the two leaders. A little bit wide there by Mulder. You cannot see the cars from the outside cameras. Look how tight the fog is. Unbelievable. This is worse than any UK weather I've ever seen at a Grand Prix, at a race. Through the fog, through the rain, for the lead. Max Mulder. Does he have a look? Van Gelder covers the inside. Does the outside work? No, it doesn't. Lap 15, we got a battle for the lead. Nuchians is there as well. There's Nuchians. 3 Dutchmen going for the lead here at Donington. Mulder runs a little wide on the grass. Here comes Nuchians. He got the outside, turning into the inside. Mulder has to yield, and Nuchians is through. Nick van Gelder goes wide through the gravel. You cannot see the cars through the fog and the rain. Here at Donington, the weather is terrible. Van Gelder almost loses it in the braking zone for the hairpin. You cannot see the cars from the TV angles. This is terrible, terrible UK weather here at Donington for the 1.5 hours, and we've got a raging battle for the lead between Mulder, Nuchians and Van Gelder. Nuchians, he is definitely the quickest car on the racetrack as we're approaching the 1 hour mark. He has a look down the inside of Van Gelder. Van Gelder leaves the door open. It's not enough right now for Nuchians. Oh, you can't make it work through here, be careful. Oh, Van Gelder goes wide, Van Gelder goes off the racetrack. And he loses the lead to Nuchians. Mulder is now behind Van Gelder again. Nuchians, so quick under these conditions. Nuchians has experience leading these SRL GT3 races. He led in his 2 races last season at Portimao and at Zolder. He won Zolder, of course. Should have won Portimao if it wasn't for the disconnect. And Nuchians goes through the gravel. So does Mulder. So does Van Gelder. So they're all struggling through this terrible weather. You can't see the cars. You can only see the headlights here at Donington Park. Mulder now down the inside of Van Gelder. Van Gelder almost loses it. We gotta hop on board with them, otherwise we cannot see what's going on. The fog is so tight. Last lap, fastest car on the racetrack, Tim Ventic in the Ferrari. He's slowly closing down the gap to this 3-car battle for the lead. He's currently 11 seconds behind leader Nuchians. He's 7 seconds in front of Logan Orant, who's running 5th. Oh, off the racetrack Tim Ventic goes. Keeps it straight though, which is important. A little update on the lap times. Last time around, Max Mulder and Nick van der Gelder's lap times have stabilized. They've run their first 37s of this race, at least under these conditions, of course. Tim Ventic ran 38, so his last lap was a bit slower. He obviously had that off-track moment through the uphill section. Dion Stahl seems to be struggling a lot in these conditions. He's running a 46 on the last lap. He keeps dropping down. He's almost a minute behind the leaders currently. And Tim Ventic has just dropped down to behind Logan Orange, so he has made a mistake somewhere. He must have gone around or something. And he's off the racetrack again. So Tim Ventic seems to be struggling a lot right now. I think Nick van Gelder might have been off the racetrack as well. He's currently running 3 seconds behind Mulder. There we are inside the cockpit of the Van Gelder Audi. As we got 1 hour to go in this race. Half an hour down. And how much action we've seen already. It's unbelievable. It's really nice to see that the pace between the three leaders, the three Dutchmen, the three Audis, Nuggians, Mulder and Van Gelder, is so similar. It's giving us a great race so far, and I hope this continues on through the last 60 minutes. Currently no close battle on the racetrack, at least not as close as we've seen so far this race. So this gives us a little bit of time to have a look at the overview to see what kind of penalties everybody got. Excuse my English. Tim Ventic and Dion Stahl both have a 1 second time penalty, and that is it. So no penalties currently for the top 4, which is good to see. You never want to see timing penalties decide the outcome of a race. So only Dion Stahl and Tim Ventic currently with penalties. Max Mulder keeps closing the gap to Cas Nuggians. And Logan Orant, it doesn't seem to be his day today. He's running around 3 seconds slower than leader Cas Nuggians. He is 22 seconds behind the leading pack. From the highs of Daytona to the lows of Donington for the championship leader. And the leaders are coming to lap Dion Stahl now. Mulder goes deep, through the gravel, through the chicane. Bit of time lost. So I'm being very curious how this weather is going to develop. Is this going to stay for the next 1 hour? Or will it dry up? Will we see another pit stop? Bit of a twitch there on the exit of the final corner there for the Cas Nuggians. No blue flags for Dion Stahl. It's his responsibility to get out of the way if he wants to. Obviously this is endurance racing, you don't get blue flags here. You only get an indication that you get faster cars coming from behind. Doesn't mean you have to move out of the way. And Nick van Gelder is slowly dropping out of the battle for the lead. He is now as Dion Stahl, I think, just went off the racetrack. Senna Hervaya has had a massive crash. He's lost his rear wing. Dion Stahl is back on the racetrack. Senna Hervaya can't get out of the mud, it seems like. He's getting stuck in this really muddy grass. Of course, as you can see, has massive puddles everywhere. This is going to be another long repair pit stop, as it was at Daytona as well for Senna Hervaya. I was just talking about Nick van Gelder, who's off the racetrack. Dion Stahl is off the racetrack again. So the conditions out on the racetrack seemingly getting worse and worse. And I was just gonna mention Van Gelder struggles. He's dropped down to around 7 seconds behind Nuggians now. Nuggians getting company from Max Mulder, who's now under a second behind the race leader. 8 tenths quicker on the last lap. Max Mulder, that is. Now we're on board with him. Nuggians a little bit deep for the uphill section. The gap is now down to 4 tenths of a second. Senna Hervaya enters the pits. He's going to repair his Audi. Defensive line by Nuggians. Mulder has to adjust. This seems to be the most difficult corner because there's a puddle on the entry to the chicane. That is why we've seen so many cars going off. A puddle is forming there. This is super treacherous for everybody. Like under brake, you never want a puddle there. So that's why we've seen Dion Stahl, Nick van Gelder going off on the last lap. Let's see how Logan Oran takes the chicane. Look, he misses the chicane as well. It's so difficult to brake there because you obviously have to brake on the outside where the puddle seems to be the deepest. If you brake on a puddle, it's like a boat. You're aquaplaning, and that is why we've seen so many cars going off there for the last few laps. And as this rain keeps coming down, this puddle is going to get worse and worse. The gap between Nuggians and Mulder is up to over a second again. Nuggians desperately trying to build a little bit of a gap again on Max Mulder. Easier said than done. Van Gelder keeps struggling as they go through the puddle again. Nuggians is wide, Mulder as well. I don't think this will be the last time we will see someone go through this puddle and go wide for the gravel, for the chicane. And Mulder is there again. I was talking about Van Gelder again. He keeps dropping down. He's the second slowest car on the racetrack right now, behind Dion Stahl. Unfortunate to see. Van Gelder seemed to be probably the quickest car under the dry conditions, but now that the rain is coming down, Van Gelder is struggling. He's dropping back. Mulder's off through the gravel in the chicane. That puts the gap to 2 seconds now between the two leaders. I think the weather is improving a little bit though. The fog definitely has disappeared, which I'm really thankful for, because that was nice for you guys, the viewers, not being able to see the cars. And I'm sure the drivers will be glad about that as well. The rain is still coming down, but I feel like it's not as bad as it was maybe 10 minutes ago. Van Gelder keeps struggling. Last lap at 44.5. That is some 8 seconds slower than Kaz Nuchians. Logan Orand is catching up to Nick Van Gelder. So this will be the battle for the final spot on the podium really soon. These two have a huge gap. We've lost someone. That was Senna Hervaya. I think this is a retirement by Senna Hervaya, because he was way down and he spent a lot of time in the pits for repairs. So our second retirement of the day, Senna Hervaya. Obviously we've lost Jeremy Pope early on in the Cadillac, which I imagine was a disconnect. Senna Hervaya probably was a retirement due to the damage he sustained through the incidents he had. Tim Ventig running in no man's land right now. He is around 25 seconds behind Logan Orand and over a minute in front of Dion Stahl. It's a bit of a lonely race for Ventig at the moment. He was running strong early on, but seems to struggle in these conditions, so similar fate to the one Nick van Gelder has had. Unfortunate for those two. Max Mulder is dropping down a little bit. I think he has made a mistake somewhere on this lap, because the gap between him and Nuchians is now up to 2 seconds. Excuse me. Van Gelder finally back with a competitive lap time last time around, a 37.9. Matching lap times to Logan Orand, who also ran a 37.9. Let's take a second to have a look at the situation with the fuel, as Nuchians is making his way through the puddle. Goes a bit deep, Mulder goes even deeper. I feel like Mulder has gone off through the chicane on every lap. And you can't blame him, it's so unbelievably difficult if in the hardest braking zone on the racetrack there's a massive puddle. There's no way the cars can handle that, especially on the braking. Let's have a short look at the fuel situation of everybody. Mulder running with 87 liters at the moment. Nuchians a bit less. Van Gelder also on 87. So is Orand. Ventig got 92 liters and Dion Stahl 91. So everybody probably had full tanks after the last pit stop. And I'm quite sure they can all make it on fuel. Not sure if they can make it on the tires, because I think the weather is improving, and I'm not sure that it's still raining out there. It is. You can see it on the camera lens. But the weather's definitely improving, so we could see maybe some dry running towards the end of this race, which will be really interesting with the tire strategy. Maybe someone like Van Gelder will stay out on the wet tires, taking the gamble and seeing if, and yeah, basically throwing a Hail Mary trying to win this race. But to be fair, he's dropped down 26 seconds now, so this might be out of the occasion for the Dutchman. As every lap, Max Mulder missed the chicane. Van Gelder now starting to see the Ferrari of Logan Oran in his rearview mirror. He missed the chicane as well. Does Logan Oran make it through there? He does. Props to him. As we are really close to halfway. We got 46 minutes left in this race. And the gap between the leaders under a second again. Mulder is there. Oh, Max Mulder almost made it through the chicane this time around. Five tenths quicker, Max Mulder this lap. Lap 29. And we got a battle for the lead. Half a second between the two Dutchmen, between the two Audis. Oh, Mulder really Mulder loses it. He touched the inside curb into the gravel. Can he get out of it? Tire spinning. And he's back going, but that cost a lot of time. He's now 7 seconds behind Cas Nuggians. The gap between Mulder and Nuggians is now up to 7 seconds. It will be difficult, very difficult for Max Mulder to recover from this mistake because they seem to be quite evenly matched on pace. And Max Mulder worked his way back behind Cas Nuggians, but I think he got some of the inside curb, and obviously this wet paint has no grip whatsoever. And yeah, in a heavy loaded corner, as that flat out turn going to the upper section, difficult, very difficult to keep the car under control, and Max Mulder just lost it this time around. Lucky, very lucky for him that he didn't make any wall contact and he's back going in P2. But he'll be kicking himself for this mistake. That leaves Nuggians alone in first. As he's approaching Tim Ventic to put Tim Ventic a lap down. And let's give you guys a quick run through the field as we are just under halfway through this race. Cas Nuggians, the master of the rain, leading this race here at Donington Park, round 2 of season 4 of the SRL GT3 Championship. He's followed by Max Mulder, our reigning champion, who has been battling for the lead against Cas Nuggians for the entirety of this race. Unfortunately has just made a mistake, went for a spin, and is now running 8 seconds behind Nuggians. Van Gelder has been struggling through the wet period. He's running in 3rd place in the final podium position. Another driver who's struggling so far today is our championship leader Logan Oran, coming off that dominating win at Daytona 4 weeks ago. He's running in 4th place, closing down the gap to Nick Van Gelder. Tim Ventig about to go a lap down to Karls Nuchians. He's running 5th. He was battling for a podium spot early on, but since the wet period has been struggling and his lap times haven't been too competitive. Talking about competitive lap times, Leon Stahl seems to finally find some pace in his Ferrari. It's been a learning curve for him today as he goes for a spin through the chicane. Commentator's curse, I'm sorry to you, Dion. And he goes for a spin again. Leon Stahl has been struggling today. He was talking about a lack of practice earlier in this car and on this racetrack, and unfortunately it is showing. And then we got 2 retirements. Our most recent retirement, Senna Herweyer, who had a few incidents early on and had to pit for repairs. He has given up. And Jeremy Pope in the Cadillac unfortunately disconnected early on. And that is your run through the field. As we keep watching the battle for the final spot on the podium between Van Gelder and Orand. Here on lap 32. And the spray is slowly disappearing. I think we're approaching a dry period. I think the second sector might be the wettest one at the moment, because there's still obviously that massive puddle going to the chicane, as Logan Orand has now closed the gap to Nick van Gelder, and he is there. So we got a battle for the podium spot. Here, this puddle I'm talking about. And Logan Orand loses it and spins around. And all the time, his gain of Van Gelder is now lost again. Luckily for him, there's a huge gap behind him, so we won't drop any positions. Tim Ventig about a minute behind those two. And Max Muller is slowly closing down the gap, I was about to say, but he just went through the grass, and this is going to cost him a bit of time again. But he is around half a second a lap quicker at the moment than Karls Nuchians, as this track is drying up. When will we see pit stop for slick tires? Currently it's still too early, as you can see some spray in some corners, in some sections of this racetrack, especially the sector 2. Is Nuchians out front? And Tim Ventic is now in the pits. This won't be for fuel, so I could imagine, and it was too quick for repairs, so I could imagine it's already going to slick tires, possibly. A bit too early for my taste, but I mean, he got a big gap on Dion Stahl, and he got a big gap in front of him as well. He is now a lap behind the next car ahead, which is Logan Allround, so he really doesn't have anything to lose, so I understand this call. And I think Nugrians might have made a mistake somewhere, as Mola is now only 2.5 seconds behind Nugrians. So could we see another battle for the lead here soon? Oran is around 1.5 seconds quicker than Van Gelder, at least on the last lap, so he's already back into the 3-second window after his spin around 3 laps ago. So Van Gelder keeps on struggling. He'll be desperately waiting for the next dry period. Last time around, Max Mulder 2 seconds slower than Kaz Nurians. As this track is getting drier and drier. When will we see those pit stops, and who will take a gamble? I think at this point, if you're Max Mulder and Kaz Nurians pits, I think you should just follow him. I think Mulder has the pace to win this race. He's just lacking the consistency, and I think in the dry period he can regain that consistency. And Kaz Nurians has spun! Kaz Nurians has spun in the chicane, and Max Mulder is back into the lead. So screw the pit stop period. Mulder is already back into the lead. Nurians has made a mistake. The also perfect Kaz Nurians has dropped down to P2 due to a spin. Half an hour to go. When will we see those pit stops? What drama here on lap 36. What a costly mistake from Nurians. Can he recover from this? Oh, Mulder was slow coming out of the uphill section. Aurand and Van Gelder still separated by a second. A little bit less for Nuggians and Van Gelder as they are making their way through the puddle into the chicane. Mulder and Nuggians stay out for another lap. Oh, Nuggians is so close. 2 attempts. Max Mulder goes a bit deep. Nuggians has the outside line, turning into the inside into the next corner. Difficult under braking here. Nuggians is ahead. And Nuggians is back into the lead. Mulder has to yield. A great little scrap here from the 2 Dutchmen, making this race so enjoyable. Oh, Mulder a bit into the grass, dips the outside tires into the grass. They are approaching the lap car of Dion Stahl for the second time, into the chicane, through the water. Nuggians loses it! Nuggians is around again! Just like 4 laps ago, Nuggians is around again and Mulder is back into the lead. Literally a carbon copy of what happened just 3 or 4 laps ago. Mulder has made his mistakes early on through the chicane, and I think he's learned from those mistakes. He's being a little bit more careful than Nuggians in that chicane. This is paying off right now, as we can see Dion Stahl facing the wrong way, exiting the final corner. He's making his way into the pits. Is he going to slick tires? Possibly? I mean, he should be good on fuel, so I imagine he's going for slicks. Nick van Gelder has been passed by Logan Aurand. Unfortunately missed that, but we were watching that great battle for the lead. Van Gelder now 4th, Aurand in 3rd place. Look at Tim Ventic. Tim Ventic is pushing. Last lap around at 36 flat. And I think Tim Ventic is on slick tires. Look how quick he is. He's a lap down, but he's flying past Van Gelder. Now right behind Logan Aurand. Unlapping himself from Logan Aurand. I think this might be an indication for the other drivers to possibly come into the pits. Nuggians and Mulder, the 2 leaders, they are staying out for now. But I think we're really close to slick tire conditions. 32 last time around from Nuggians. That is around 8 seconds quicker than what we had around half an hour to go under these terribly wet conditions. Talking about wet conditions, is it just me or has it started raining again? If you look at the camera lens, I think it has started to rain again. So this is some true April weather here at Donington Park. I think the rain has returned. And that is bad news for Tim Ventic, who ran the fastest lap out of anyone on the last lap, as his dry tires are obviously the right tire for now, but now the track is getting wet again. Ah, you can't make that up. Nuggians, bit of grass through the chicane. Yeah, and the rain has definitely started again. You can see how heavy it is coming down again. It's literally the exact same scenario as it was around 45 minutes ago when the rain started for the first time. Van Gelder. Can he attack Logan Oran for his podium position? Nurians is closing the gap down again to Max Mulder. I think Max Mulder won't be too happy to see the rain return. As the track got drier, we saw that Max Mulder was the quicker of these two drivers. But under the wet period, it just seems like Nurians has the upper hand. Lap 42. Whoa, Van Gelder loses the rear end and goes for half of a spin at least. In this hard braking zone downhill, going into the hairpin. Obviously, the water flows downhill, so Logan Oran loses it. Oh, this rather is getting treacherous. Tim Ventic on his slick tires has to make his way to the pits. Nurians now only 6/10 behind Max Mulder. Into this chicane. Heavy braking through the water. And now they're approaching this hairpin. I was mentioning it earlier. This goes downhill, this section, into the hairpin. So the water obviously also flows downhill. So all this water is going to collect right on the apex. As you can see here, this shiny part in the middle of the corner, that is a massive puddle. And you don't want to puddle under braking. You don't want to puddle on the apex of a corner. So this track is turning into one big challenge. Van Gelder and Oran side by side into turn 1. Oran got a preferred inside line. Van Gelder, can he make the outside work? Obviously preferred in the wet. Has a better exit. They're still side by side. You can't go side by side through this section. They are trying it, but Van Gelder yields for now and stays in 4th. Oran a bit deep going for this uphill section. Had a bad run. And here comes Van Gelder again. On the outside curb, on the grass. He gets stuck on the grass. And Orange is back into third, so a fun little battle here for the final spot on the podium. And the lap times are so much slower again than just about 5 or 6 laps ago. We were down to the 32s, now we are the two leaders are back into the 37s, so around 5 seconds slower just due to the conditions that we are having here right now. As you can see, the rain coming down super hard. There's Dion Stahl going to go a third lap down now, the Dutchman. Definitely not the day he was looking for. Gotta be disappointing for Stahl. I mean, if you remember Season 1 and Season 2 as well, he was fighting for wins in this GT3 Championship, but now he just seems to be struggling, and he just seems to be stuck in cars that don't suit him. Obviously last season the Acura, the pace just wasn't there, and now the Ferrari, generally not a bad car. The Ferrari is a very quick car, but it takes a lot to handle this car, and to find the right setup is tricky with the 488, and Dion Stahl obviously still hasn't found it. And it might just not suit his driving style. The manufacturer that Dion Stahl excelled at in Season 1 and Season 2 was McLaren, and if this season is another letdown, I see Dion Stahl moving back to McLaren, to be honest. At least in the GT3 Championship. Definitely not looking for a change are those Audi drivers. The Audi today dominant. Obviously Nurians and Mulder both in the Audi, they are leading by over 40 seconds ahead of the next car, which is now Nick van Gelder, who's just passed Logan Orand to make it an Audi 1-2-3. Last lap by Orand was a 42, so he lost around 4 seconds there to Nick van Gelder. 5/10, 4/10 separating the two leaders now. Nurians is there. Oh, there's contact between the two leaders. Mulder got a bit loose there through the puddle, and Nurians wasn't expecting him to slow down that much. Doesn't seem like there's any significant damage to either car, which is good to see, of course. There's Nurians following Mulder. 17 minutes to go. Will we have a grand finale here at Donington Park? You can see this beautiful racetrack just snaking up the hill here. This is Van Gelder, gets really loose for the final corner, and he goes around. Around goes Nick van Gelder, and that puts Logan Orand into that final podium spot again. This third place has been changing so many times through the last 10 laps. Logan Orand and Nick van Gelder trading that third place like nothing else. Nurians is chasing his second ever SRL League win. Mulder had a bit of an oversteer snap there on the exit of the hairpin. extends the gap to not so quick. Extends the gap to around 2 seconds now to Nurians. Van Gelder has lost around 3 seconds on around 2 seconds now on Logan Orand due to his spin through the final corner, of course. Okay, before we see the finale of this race, let's quickly check the penalty situation one final time. Nothing has changed. Tim Ventic and Dion Stahl, the only drivers with a penalty at the moment. Dion Stahl 3 laps down, Tim Ventic 2 laps down. Max Moller now approaching Tim Ventic to put him a 3rd lap down. Tim Ventic had to do 2 extra pit stops, obviously when he missed his pit box early on, and then unfortunately when he made the call to go in for slick tires, which looked like the right call for a few laps until it came pouring down with rain again. I think I just saw a lightning strike. That explaining this massive amount of water coming down, of course. Logan Orand has dropped down to 4th place again. Lee van Gelder passing him. Fortunately missed a few of these overtakes as we see another lightning strike. As we obviously have to keep an eye on the battle for a lead, which has been so close for the entire race. I think the biggest gap a leader has had so far this race was like maybe like 6 seconds. Oh, a little bit of a moment there for Van Gelder, who goes deep. Here comes Orand. A second between Nurians and Mulder. 13 minutes to go. Oh, bit of a moment there for Mulder, I think. Or I think they're just all being really slow as we see Tim Ventic go around. I think they're just all being really slow through the hairpin as there's a massive puddle on the apex, so Tim Ventic pits. I wonder what's that for. Oh, both leaders are off again through the chicane. Obviously now with the more rain we get, the bigger the puddle gets in this braking zone. Van Gelder currently around a second a lap quicker than Logan Orand. So he's trying to build a gap there to have a little bit of a buffer going into the final 10 minutes of this race. Van Gelder, of course, wanting this podium. Let's have a look inside the cockpit of our race leader, Max Mulder. Windscreen wiper, of course, turned on. Headlights turned on. There's not a whole lot of sunlight, of course. Let's see how unsteady the car gets here under braking through this puddle for the chicane. Oh, it's so difficult. And of course he goes deep again. So does Nuchians. I think at this point this is almost impossible to manage going through this chicane. I mean, I myself have done my fair share of Project Cars 2 GT3 SRL League races. And I can tell you, if the track gets so wet that you have puddles, going through these puddles is almost impossible because the car keeps aquaplaning. You have to hold the steering wheel really tight and straight, but if you have to brake at the same time, this is almost an impossible task. So a massive respect to those drivers here on the race today, having to deal with this chicane and the standing water through there. Nuchians just behind Max Mulder. Audi versus Audi. Same material, different teams. It was a really close race between around 4 drivers early on in this race in the dry period, but as soon as the rain came, these 2 drivers have proven to us viewers, that they are the best drivers on the grid when it comes to wet weather racing. They have gapped the entire field by a minute. And after 1.5 hours of pure chaos in the wet, these 2 are only separated by 4/10. So who can crown themselves the king of wet weather racing here in the GT3 series today? Currently it looks like Max Mulder. On board with Kaz Nuchians. Will he get another shot to make a move on Max Mulder? Lap car of Tim Ventic in front. Tim Ventic running in 5th. This is Venting's first outing in the GT3 Championship since Season 1. And to be honest with you, he's impressed me today. I thought he might struggle a lot, but obviously he didn't have the best of luck. Oh, turning into a Brit there almost. He didn't have the best of luck today. But still, he will get a top 5 out of this. And to me, he has shown that he definitely got the pace to maybe a threat for a podium or 2 this season. Obviously, Tim Ventic putting together a really strong comeback season in the F1 Championship, having won the last 2 races and fighting for the championship at the moment against his teammate Logan Orand, who's running in 4th place. Ooh, really deep there. There goes... Oh, Mulder goes deep, and Kaz Nuchians goes for the lead. Tim Ventic gets out of the way. And just like that, Nuchians leads this race. Can Max Mulder respond? He got 6 minutes left. Oh, he's on the grass there. Max Mulder on the exit of the final corner. Tim Ventic loses on the front straight. There's Ventic. I'm not sure if he kept it out of the barriers. I think he caught some grass there and got stuck on the grass. Couldn't get back on the racetrack and just lost it on the puddles. And Tim Ventic is continuing on. So dramatic scenes here with only 5 minutes to go, and the lead has changed again. We got Cas Nuchens leading in front of Max Mulder. Somebody has to count the lead changes of this race after this checkered flag has fallen. Mulder still ahead of Logan Orant. Nothing really has changed in this battle. The gap is still around a second. Vergelder goes really deep. In the chicane again, the stretches chicane. Cas Nuchens is around. So is Mulder. And this could be the dagger for Max Mulder. I'm saying that they have to go through the chicane at least another 4 times. So until the final lap, until the final time for the chicane, I'm not gonna make any predictions who wins this race. The pressure on these two drivers, they both want to win this race. Of course, you always want to win this race, but after battling for the lead for the entire race, anything but winning the race is a disappointment. Yes, Max Mulder, if it stays like this, will take the championship lead today. But he's a racing driver, and a racing driver always wants to win, especially if you battle for the win for the entire race. But I'm not ready to call anything here, because we gotta get through the chicane. At this point, do you lift off before the chicane, like halfway through the straight, and just roll through the puddles? Because braking seems to be impossible through there, so it's interesting to see what driver will figure out a technique to get through this corner without making mistakes. So Nuchens the first one. He goes deep through the gravel. So does Mulder though. Gap stays around the same. Oh, a little twitch there from Nuchens. Mulder has closed the gap back down again. Nuchens got onto the inside puddle there on the apex of the hairpin and had to go deep. Had a little twitch there. Here comes Mulder. The lap times, the lap times have gone up to the 44s on the previous lap. Just shows how bad the conditions are. We were down to 32s early on, where the track was drying up. 2 laps to go. 2 more times around. 2 more times through the chicane. Mulder has a look to the outside of this fast left-hander. Now to the inside. Can't find a way around. He has to rely on a mistake from Nuchens. Overtaking on this racetrack is difficult. Mulder runs a wider line than Nuchens, looking for a better exit onto the straight. And the run into the chicane again. They're approaching Dion Stahl, a lap car. He's running P6. Braking. Through the water. Oh, sideways there from Nuchens. Nuchens almost loses it sideways through the chicane. Mulder now on the outside. Nuchens got the preferred line going to the hairpin corner. And Nuchens keeps the lead. Approaching the final corner. We got one more lap. One more lap of this amazing race, this amazing battle for the lead. Max Mulder. Does he get another shot? Does he get another shot to win this race? Last lap, one more time around. They're approaching the lap car of Dion Star. Shouldn't be an issue. I hope that Dion Star gets out of the way. 1.5 hours of racing are coming down to this. Audi versus Audi. Dutchman versus Dutchman. Max Mola versus Cas Nurians. The gap is around half a second at the moment. Who cracks under pressure? Who makes a mistake first? It's Nurians leading the way. Max Mola had a good exit coming through the uphill section. Does he have a look? Looks towards the outside. There's no way you can pass there. The preferred line? Not quite there. Through the uphill right-hander for the final time. Oh, Max Mulder almost lost it on the entry. Under braking. And now into the chicane. What's going to happen in the chicane? So many mistakes through the chicane. There's this massive puddle. So much standing water in this chicane. Cas Nurians coming through it first. Nurians goes deep, almost loses it. Here comes Mulder. Mulder with the switchback moves on the final lap. Max Mulder takes the lead. He got the preferred line going to the hairpin as well. 2 more corners to go. Can Cas Nurians answer? Max Mulder goes defensive through the standing water. And Max Mulder has taken the lead with 1 more corner to go. What a fantastic battle here on the final lap. A classic, an absolute classic. 1 more corner, Max Mulder onto the power. 1.5 hours of some truly British weather come to a close. The reigning champion flexes his muscle. Max Mulder takes the win at Donington and the championship lead. Wow. Cas Nurians has to settle for 2nd place. What a race. That was special. Who's going to take the final spot on the podium here? Seems like Van Gelder is way clear of Logan Orant, so that must have been a mistake from Orant somewhere. What a brilliant race. I still can't get over this final lap. Look at how careful Nick van Gelder is going through the chicane and still almost lost it. So after the lows of Daytona, Nick van Gelder will take a podium here. I think we'll be happy with that. I don't think he had too much practice before the race as well. So good job by Nick van Gelder taking this podium slot. Logan Orant through the final corner. It's not been his day. Not been the day of the American, and he's going to lose the championship lead today. So, in an amazing race, Max Mulder takes his 3rd ever GT3 International GT3 SRL League race win, followed by Cas Nurians, who has to settle for 2nd. Van Gelder responds to a difficult Daytona with a podium. Logan Orant disappointingly loses the championship lead, only 4th place for him. Tim Ventic in his return to SRL League International GT3 competition in 5th. Decent outing by him. Dion Stahl had a struggle today. Only 6th place for the Dutchman. Then we had 2 retirements. Senna Herba in 7th after multiple incidents. And in 8th place, Jeremy Pope for Cadillac with a disconnect. Wow, that was something. What a brilliant race. The weather of course helped, but I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. And we have to mention, Max Mulder's TV, his screen, which he races on, that thing exploded around 10 minutes before the race. He had to scramble to get a different screen so he could participate in this event. And stressfully enough, he managed to get a new screen and battle for the win and take the win here. So massive congratulations to Max Mulder. That was that was truly special. So, I've been Sandro Doulis. Leave a like if you enjoyed this race. I don't know how you did not enjoy this race, because I think this was possibly one of the best GT3 races we've ever had today. Subscribe to the channel to see more SRL content. We're entering a small break now, obviously with Christmas coming up and New Year. We are back with SRL League action, SRL League F1 action with the Canadian Grand Prix, round 9 of the Formula 1 F1 2022 Championship on January 7th. So we got a small break here, but stay tuned for the recap video of the Spanish Grand Prix coming out next week. So you got a little bit of some insights, some onboards of the Spanish Grand Prix from multiple drivers. Check out the links down below in the description with the SRL League Instagram account for all kinds of news, standings and highlights. Also check out the SRL League website and the SRL League Patreon page. Links are down below in the description. I've been Sandro, and I'll see you on the 7th of June, then on the racetrack, and Lance back up in the booth. Bye bye, have a nice Christmas.